Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host on, and this is another video on the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm.
Yes, welcome back to the Baseball Head too. We talk about all the insanity that happens at the fan on a constant basis. We've been sort of taking a little bit of a break. They haven't done anything crazy or insane or shoot from the hip, is what they would like to say. Now, I would mention this to the Baseball Hut, too. And, of course, we talk about the WFAN and the insane asylum that they all reside in. All the padded rooms that they sleep in and get their little meals, get their pills, and everything else. So it started when the Mets signed Luis Severino on Wednesday night. Now, the Mets have a lot of holes on their club. They have had 28 players on the 40-man roster, and they need to fill up 12 players. Now, right now, they have filled 3 of those holes with the signings of Luis Severino, Austin Adams, and Joey Wendell. But these are small moves to help the depth of this team. These aren't the big moves that the Mets are going to be making. Now, the fan has a mantra. Whatever the Mets do, it is wrong. Even when they do it right, they do it wrong. The Mets get criticized overly more than any team in this town. They get second-guessed if they go to the bathroom. Did you go to the bathroom properly? Did you use enough toilet paper? I hope you did. Well, you used too much toilet paper. You didn't use enough. Did you wash your hands afterwards? Well, you didn't wash them properly. That's the kind of insane kind of nitpicking that they do there. Now, this is from Odyssey.com. This is all from their website. I don't play any of their clips. It's more fun if I read them and just put it in a different kind of way. Odyssey.com. BT on Luis Severino signing. It's the Wilpons Mets all over again. Now, I would mention the Mets have the highest payroll in Major League Baseball. And the highest payroll in the history of Major League Baseball. After the Mets reportedly added Luis Severino and Joey Wendell on Wednesday, BT says the Mets have gone backwards to the point where they are acting like they did on the previous ownership. It's the Wilpons Mets all over again, man. We could sit here and joke, but the Mets are back to the Wilpons, said BT, who clearly wasn't inspired by the signing of Severino to a one-year deal. He is an extra piece. They're going to make a move for Yamamoto. I don't think they'll get him, of course. He wants it for the Yankees. He's a Yankee fan. But I think they'll try to make the move right now. Severino is your third starter. Do you want him pitching against the Braves or in Philadelphia in that bandbox? Spanish still is unfazed and is convinced that bigger moves are coming. Now, I would mention that even though I've made fun of Sal Licata a lot, I always liked Sal. I'm going to be honest. I always liked the way he was, especially when he was on WOR. But obviously, since he went back to the fan, he has lost his mind. Oh, Jesus. Quote, have your fun now, because I, along with my fellow Mets fans, will have the last laugh. These moves are insignificant. Steve Cohen could throw away $13 million. Maybe other teams can't. The big fish are still yet to come. The coconut wasn't buying it. King Cohen rules? Which owner just dismantled their roster and won 75 games? King Cohen, my ass. Okay. Until the Mets actually do something good, they're going to stink this year. Now, this is the mantra. Everything the Mets do, everything they do is wrong. And when they do it right, it's wrong. Now, we're going to talk about, oh my God. This must be like the slowest person at WFAN. If you want to know what host Keith McPherson, how he thinks and what he says, just follow an anonymous account on Twitter. Just follow some anonymous account on Twitter that hates the Mets. You'll get every cliche imaginable from Keith McPherson and from that anonymous account. And this is what you get from this award winner. And if you go on his Twitter account, he pretends to be a tough guy. And I would mention he kind of pretends to be Tony Montoya, who is a fictional character from a movie called Scarface, which is one of the worst gangster movies of all time, and it is lauded for being a great movie. It is not one of Al Pacino's best. It is a horrible movie that is completely overrated. But Keith thinks that he is this character in a movie that is not they say it's based on a real story, but the character is not real. It's not a real person. Just leave it there. Keith, Mets love to take Yankees hand-me-downs and leftovers. And also would mention about Keith, he thinks the history began when he was born. And he's quite a snappy dresser on the air, by the way. Keith was on the air shortly after news broke of Luis Severino signed a one-year deal with the Mets, and Keith hardly found it to be a surprising move. Of course they would, Keith said. They need help in their rotation. What's $13 million to Steve Cohen? He could light $13 million on fire and not know the difference, which he might have just done. I like Louis. I'm a Yankees fan. Now, I would mention he is a self-admitted Yankee shill. And I wonder if the Yankees are paying him under the table to say all great things about the Yankees. We know there's been a history in radio of DJs being paid money on the side by record companies to play records. You can't tell me that this process does not happen in the failing the sports radio genre. I'm rooting for Sevy, sure you are. Props to his representation, because after that disaster of a year he had last year, for him to sign a one-year Florida deal for $13 million on top of the money he finessed out of the Yankees by never pitching, bravo. The award winner said Severino signing follows a trend of taking the Yankees leftovers, which recently occurred with the likes of Dylan Betances and Adam Ottavino. Those are bullpen pieces, you dope. Bullpen pieces move around all over the place in baseball. Okay? Dylan Betances was a thing with Brody Van Wagenen. This was his client, and he signed the guy to a bad contract. Adam Ottavino pitched well for the Mets for the first year. The Yankees love to take the Yankees hand-me-downs and leftovers. Just look at your last two managers. Now, I would mention, Buck Showalter has managed in several places between the Mets and the Yankees. I think there's this with the Mets that they'll take these hand-me-down leftovers from the Yankees because it's New York. Well, we know they can handle it in New York. Bring them here. They proved it with the Yankees. They proved it with the A-team. I would mention, the Mets are America's team. The Yankees are not. The Yankees have not been to the World Series since 2009. The Mets have been to the World Series in 2015. And the Yankees had a disastrous year. And the Yankees, quite frankly, even though they won 99 games in 2022, they had a dreadful last 2 months of last year. After looking like people say, oh, they're the best team in baseball, they're going to win 130 games. And they failed, and they basically collapsed the last 2-3 months of 2022. But this is the kind of venom you get from McPherson. Because McPherson is an angry Yankee fan. He thinks that he's a tough guy, and he's not a tough guy. Believe me, I can tell you that. And finally, I think this next... Oh, wait a minute, before I forget. This is from an anti-Met fan. Anti-Met fan. Boomer Esiason, Norman. Now, they've already decided now that next year is already a disaster. It's a complete, total collapse of the Mets. They're not going to go to postseason. They're just going to be a mess. Well, Boomer said this on the other day. Mets should shop Pete Alonso if they are out of it at the trade deadline. Again, everything's negative about the Mets. As the Mets begin their offseason moves, Norman and Greg wonder what it is in store for Pete Alonso, who will be entering his final year before free agency. Both want Alonso in Queens long term, but the radio station seems to have a mantra of wanting to trade Pete out of here. That seems to be their agenda, is to trade Pete. So don't believe this shit. They want Pete traded so they can complain about the Mets. It's good radio. But playing devil's advocate, Gio says there is an argument to avoid signing the homegrown slugger to a long-term deal. If he has a year like Aaron Judge did or anywhere close, there will be other suitors out there, Greg said. You're going to have to pay him a ton of money for a long time for a guy who's 30 years old. We've seen those contracts now work out in the past many times. Norman wants Alonso on a long-term deal, but if the Mets are once again out of it, okay, you still have a tradable asset if your team is out at the trade deadline. How much would Pete bring in return at that point? He's not going to bring it much. He's not. Just look to the past. Now you know, Greg and Norman, they kind of do this bad cop, good cop all the time. We don't need to. Now, finally, let's go back to spats. I think this might have been Keith McPherson calling up, making fun of Sal. Sal unloads on caller trolling Mets for Severino deal. Vinny and Brick called into, this is a place in New Jersey, Brick, New Jersey. I'll tell you, these New Jerseyans, they know how to name their towns, don't they? Vinny and Brick called in to troll Sal about the Severino sign and Sal's devotion to Steve Cohen, and Sal was ready for the fight. Quote, you said the Mets never have more... You said the Mets never had more wins than the Yankees, and I just said they did 2 years ago, Sal said. So you're wrong. Do me a favor for your own good and shut your mouth and listen. I'm surprised I didn't hang up on him. I'm going to educate you. You said Steve Cohen did nothing. He had the highest payroll in the history of the sport. Is that nothing to you yet? Because he's not a Met fan. But he said it doesn't matter if the team with a high payroll isn't winning. Which Spence quickly noted that the Yankees and their high payrolls haven't won in 14 years. When was the last time a New York team played in the World Series? Sal said, to which Vinny very incorrectly answered 2000. No, you idiot. Hit the bong again, you moron. Cohen has done a lot in a few years, and he'll continue to do even more. Obviously, Mets went to the World Series in 2015. And I would say that in the second year of Steve Cohen, the Mets won 101 games. In the years that the Wilpons owned the Mets, they never won 100 games. The most they won was 97 and 2006. And they only won 90 wins 2 times during those years. And it took the Mets 6 years to go to the World Series. And it took them 4 years under Doubleday and Wilpon to have a winning season in 1984. So Cohen is way ahead of the curve in terms of where the Mets need to be this time around. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. We will keep chronicling the insanity of those at the mental ward, nervous hospital, taking their pills, saying crazy shit at WFAN.
Coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny part.